I'm not just going to be reiterating the reasons why this film failed and why it is that we all expected it to fail, but I'm also going to be shoehorning something that happened over the weekend involving Vice President Kamala Harris and the leader of Ghana, especially given a certain topic that YouTube is trying to censor at least within the first 30 seconds of our videos, and why it is that people in other countries don't exactly like this whole woke equity push in agendas. And also, one more thing, too. I'm also going to be explaining to you why it is that this old woke equity stuff is really, at the end of the day, just the liberals' version of white supremacy. Yeah, I had a feeling that this right here was going to end up being a complete total disaster. I wanted to come back to this topic, and of course, the topic is The Little Mermaid. And I wanted to come back to this because I wanted to see if, let's just say that films like this, I wanted to see if these films actually do well and actually sell. You oftentimes hear about a film making a lot of money, and sometimes you kind of decide that, well, let's take a look and see exactly how good it actually did. And then you look at exactly how much money it made overseas and domestically, and you find out that the film's overall revenue or the money that they took in was not too much higher than the actual budget. This right here is a movie that carried a $250 million budget, and after its first weekend, it is struggling. It was struggling internationally. Now, I want to use another film really quick, and we'll talk about the reasons why, and we're also going to be talking about something else, too, that I think is very important, because I don't think people are understanding that overseas audiences are not okay with certain agendas or certain aspects, and they probably feel like yeah, we don't want to have a certain type of messaging being pushed across us. We'll get to that more in a second. But I talked about the fact that many people were complaining that the film was too long. They were complaining about the fact that the prince, of course, was basically the dominated character in this film, and that Ariel was essentially the girl boss here when realistically it would have taken him to actually save her. It probably should have been that. It wasn't exactly true to the original. Now, I've been saying for a long time that remakes have got to stop, or if you're going to do a remake, you better do it properly, meaning actually good. I could give you guys some examples. The problem is those examples are pretty few and far between when it comes to remakes. But still, though, at the same time, people had a lot of complaints, and of course, there are people out there who actually liked it. If you watched this film and you liked it, that is up to you. You liked it. It was the greatest movie in the world to you. That is fine. I actually never watched it. I was just sitting back waiting for the returns. I can hear somebody saying, well, you didn't watch it, so how the hell would you know? Well, the thing is this right here. When a film like The Little Mermaid, a remake, comes out, you kind of want to see how well it does, especially given the fact that a character was race swapped, especially given the fact that it was ratioed the hell out of, the trailer was, by a lot of people. I think a lot of that was done in jest to have some fun with, but of course a lot of people kind of felt this film was probably not going to do well. But let's go ahead and talk about this. The film Aladdin, the live-action remake, and you could probably look at The Lion King, and I went back and looked at The Lion King, and I went back and looked at Beauty and the Beast about this. And of course, Beauty and the Beast, people were complaining about the whole gay couple thing, which many people said really wasn't that big of a deal. But still, at the same time, though, that can kind of affect a film at least the second time around. I thought Buzz Lightyear was probably the best example, because they actually, not only did they throw in the whole equity stuff, the whole the gay couple scene, but they also decided that they wanted to make Buzz Lightyear's character itself kind of a failure and kind of weak. Still, though, I'll digress for the time being. Aladdin had a 53% fall at the box office the week after it was released domestically, but it still made $600 million more. Well, it made $600 million more because the international sales were extremely good. The Little Mermaid looks like it's not even going to break even. You see, The Little Mermaid, as I mentioned before, had a $250 million budget. Okay, so you got to make not only budget, production costs, and all that stuff, but you've also got to make above that. Even if you make a film that only makes $100 million above your budget, say if your budget was $250 or maybe it was $300, it's still deemed to be somewhat of a flop. The reason why is because the overall profit share was not that good, and of course Disney is looking at this and they're probably saying to themselves, what the hell is going on here? Well, I can tell you exactly what the hell is going on here. People in that country in the Pacific Ocean, China, they don't exactly like people of color they never have. No, they don't. They don't like the equity thing. It is a country that right now has changed its economic model to look more capitalistic, but yet the actual government itself is still called the Chinese Communist Party for a reason. And of course, they still restrict speech. They still restrict everything. The laws are extremely restrictive. It's basically communistic in law, but capitalistic in its economy. Of course, there's still a lot of communistic aspects there. Not going to get fully into that. I'm not an economist. I'm mostly just a basic boots on the ground common sense guy when it comes to topics like that. However, when it comes to movies and film, I think I do know a little bit. Here's the deal. Nobody's saying the film sucked because of the race swap or anything. We obviously knew the race swap wasn't going to go over well, especially when it comes to international audiences. But the thing is this right here. You can't push certain things on certain countries or certain people. I mean, think about it really quick. Space Jam, LeBron James version. It didn't do well in China, and he's partnered with China. I mean, he's actually partnered with him. He receives money from China, the exact same way John Cena receives money from China, the exact same way that many of Hollywood itself, most of it, pretty much all of it, receives money from China, the exact same way Sleepy Joe receives money from China. Okay, fact of the matter is this right here. China will take the money and then turn right back around and spit on your product. That's who these people are. It was not a good idea to release a film like this and send it to China expecting to be the bulk of the revenue. Also, something else too, is probably not doing very well in Europe or Africa or any other nation in the world because right now people are kind of tired of the whole race swap agenda. They're getting pretty tired of this stuff. Now, like I said before, I kind of gave you guys my thoughts. I felt at some point in time that Disney and a lot of these companies were going to lose a lot of money, and after a while they would have to change their formula. The best thing you could have done was done a silent boycott, not go unsubscribe from Disney, not watch their content, not watch their stuff, and eventually at some point in time they will eventually come to you and they will ask you exactly where it is that they went wrong. However, seeing how the Bud Light boycott was so effective, seeing how the Target boycott has been so effective, I have a feeling that a lot of these woke companies are starting to change their tune on a lot of things, and I think that Little Mermaid may have just been the latest example of people just saying, screw this right here, I don't want to watch it. It seems to me also something else too, that a 58% shortfall or a 58% loss from the previous week, that's a problem, especially when you needed to make roughly $600 million to even break even. So that right there should tell you right there that this film, for the most part, has been a complete total flop. But I asked you guys to stick around for the full video for a reason. You see, a lot of countries don't exactly like what it is that we're doing here in the United States as far as the woke, equity, LGBTQ, all that stuff there. I've told you guys before, I take an approach of, look, I don't care what you do behind closed doors, just don't be perverting kids or anything like that. Even though I am also very, very much against gay marriage, I also think that it should be something that's up to the states. That's just how I feel. I'm not okay with the whole listening thing. I have to say it that way because of the YouTube algorithm. They will completely limit your ads, but I always roll the word across the screen when I do that, so that way you guys can kind of see it. But here's the thing that you need to understand. I did a video a while back on Uganda. Uganda straight up banned the gay lifestyle. They basically banned gays outright, put them in jail, all that stuff there. Another country, Russia, they kind of, locked theirs up as well. And or they beat them up and stuff like that. In the Middle East, they actually throw them off of buildings, all that stuff there. I've told people, you're being kind of smug with your lifestyle. You're being kind of smug with this messaging, especially seeing how it was that you used to simp for these nations that hate the United States. You used to simp for them before all of a sudden now you want to spread your message all across the world, your lifestyle and everything, and then you find out they don't exactly like that. You guys remember that guy, that reporter that went to the World Cup? Yeah, that guy who died, got kicked out of the stadium before. Well, right now at this moment in time, it's not just people, it's also American leaders. I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to what this guy has to say. This is a very, very important person over in Africa. This right here is the leader of Uganda. Interesting thing. I have to say it that way because of the YouTube algorithm. They will completely limit your ads, but I always roll the word across the screen when I do that, so that way you guys can kind of see it. But here's the thing that you need to understand. I did a video a while back on Uganda. Uganda straight up banned the gay lifestyle. They basically banned gays outright, put them in jail, all that stuff there. Another country, Russia, they kind of, locked theirs up as well. And or they beat them up and stuff like that. In the Middle East, they actually throw them off of buildings, all that stuff there. I've told people, you're being kind of smug with your lifestyle. You're being kind of smug with this messaging, especially seeing how it was that you used to simp for these nations that hate the United States. You used to simp for them before all of a sudden now you want to spread your message all across the world, your lifestyle and everything, and then you find out they don't exactly like that. You guys remember that guy, that reporter that went to the World Cup? Yeah, that guy who died, got kicked out of the stadium before. Well, right now at this moment in time, it's not just people, it's also American leaders. I want you guys to pay very, very close attention to what this guy has to say. This is a very, very important person over in Africa. This right here is the leader of Uganda. I want you to listen to what he has to say about Kamala Harris, our vice president, seeing how it is that Joe Biden said that he would not put up with any type of human rights violations, which is code word for LGBTQ intolerance on the world stage. Pay very, very close attention to what he had to say.
An issue of human rights, and the United States stance is unwavering. How does that make you feel, given that this bill is still in Parliament, there have been delays, and you're still waiting to see the way forward?
Well, first and foremost, Kamala Harris's opinion is of no consequence here in Ghana. Our laws and legislation...
Sam George, you say the U.S. Vice President's opinion is of no consequence to us.
It's an opinion. Everybody has one. It's like a nose. It has absolutely... I think the Parliament of Ghana is going to be guided by the opinion of the Vice President of a country that is...
That's pretty strong. He is telling the President of the United States and the Vice President, who every time she runs her mouth, she has this great big giant word salad. And don't worry, we'll get to her here in a second. He is basically telling that, it's inconsequential. Nothing you say matters to us. We're going to do whatever. And me personally, I'm kind of looking at this and I'm saying this whole woke equity stuff is just not going to work. It's not going to work with other nations. They have cultures. They have customs. I mean, dude, I used to be all about, America being the world's traffic cop. I used to be all about that till I was about maybe 23, 24 years old. And I had to work an actual job in the civilian world. I was no longer in the military, and, I wasn't all gung-ho and stuff. I began to actually live life, go through life, actually live it, pay my bills and stuff. And I realized that this stuff adds up. And after a while, being the world's traffic cop is not exactly the best position in the world. People will lean on you too much, and after a while, when you become the world's traffic cop, you begin to get a bit of you begin to get on a bit of a power trip, and you start making other countries start saying to themselves, you know what, you have to accept this right here, or else we will sanction you. And after a while, you realize, man, look, there are other countries out there that, quite frankly, have different cultures. Russia's got their culture, China's got their culture. Both of those countries, neither one of them are allies. Then you got the African nation. You got the African nations who, quite frankly, you know what, they have their own cultures too. But pay very, very close attention to what the leader of Ghana says during this exchange after a New York Times reporter asked Kamala Harris this very, very ridiculous question in a country that is also, let's just say, not exactly on board with the whole LGBTQ thing. Pay very close attention.
You are visiting on this trip have advanced or proposed anti-gay legislation. Ghana has proposed a bill that would imprison those that engage in same-sex intercourse. Gay sex remains a crime in Tanzania, and same-sex relationships are outlawed in Zambia. What have you said to the president and plan to say to other leaders on this trip about this crackdown on human rights? And for the president...
I'll start. I have raised this issue, and let me be clear about where we stand. First of all, for the American press who are here, you know that a great deal of work in my career has been to address human rights issues, equality issues across the board, including as it relates to the LGBT community. And I feel very strongly about the importance of supporting the freedom and supporting and fighting for equality among all people, and that all people be treated equally. I will also say that this is an issue that we consider, and I consider, to be a human rights issue, and that will not change.
Yes. What's the name?
Sorry, Zoltan Kano Youngs of the New York Times.
Zoltan
Kano Youngs.
Ms. Young. So thank you for the question. First of all, we don't have any such legislation in Ghana. A bill has been proposed to the Parliament of Ghana, which has all kinds of ramifications, which is not being considered by the Parliament. It hasn't been passed, so the statement that there is legislation in Ghana to that effect is not accurate. No legislation. The bill is going through the Parliament. It's going through the Parliament. The Attorney General has found it necessary to speak to the committee about it regarding the constitutionality or otherwise of several of its provisions, and the Parliament is dealing with it. At the end of the process, I will come in. But in the meantime, the Parliament is dealing with it. And I have no doubt that the Parliament of Ghana will show, as it's done in the past, one, first of all, its sensitivity to human rights issues, as well as to the feelings of our population, and will come out with a responsible response to the proposed. The legislation was a legislation that is being provided as a private member's bill. This is not an official legislation of the government, but it is one that is being mooted by a handful of private members. So we will see what the final outcome of it. But my understanding from the recent discussion I had with the chairman of the committee, the substantial elements of the bill have already been modified as a result of the intervention of the Attorney General. We will see what the final outcome will be, and that is the stage at which I will also have the...
Once again, another word salad from this woman, and this guy here, he seemed to me like he was pretty well happy with the legislation, and he did that right in front of her face. It's not only the fact that they're not okay with this, it is also the fact that they now no longer respect us. They no longer respect the leadership. I mean, look, I don't agree with what Hollywood is pushing. I don't agree with what we're pushing on the rest of the world. But, I mean, at least have a backbone. At least be a strong leader or leadress or something. But let me end this video on this note here. You see, let me tell you what this sounds like. Let me tell you what it sounds like. It sounds like this is white supremacy. Let me tell you how I know. You see, in Ghana, in Uganda, in a lot of these African nations, Gambia is also putting an end to this whole LGBTQ thing. These people are black. Yeah, these people are black. And you have a white president, a white liberal president. As I said before, the white liberal is the black man's worst enemy, whether they know it or not. It seems to me like this is actually white supremacy, white woke supremacy. Just figure I would throw that out there. You see, all you wokes who accuse all of us white people of being white supremacists, that's just good-natured, normal people whose lives got upended by your crazy lunacy and all your call-outs and all your words, which quite frankly mean nothing anymore. The infected. Well, let me ask you guys a question. You are trying to enforce your ideology, the way of life that you want to continue to preach. You want to now force this upon other nations, which is something, quite frankly, you guys at one point in time were not okay with. But you want to force it on other nations. That sounds to me like white woke supremacy. So who's the white supremacist now? Guys, John Claymore here. If you like this content, please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sound off in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts. If you think that if you feel that I earn your subscription, please make sure you guys hit that notifications bell. I'd love to get you guys' thoughts on this, and I'll see you guys later.